What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this MMA 12-fight slate. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future MMA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on DraftKings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 13-fight slate. But first, we have to go over last week's success. Kevin, I know you weren't around because you had a wrestling tournament of your own, but I know you were paying somewhat attention, right? And you did a good recap. So let's go ahead and hear it. Kevin, how did the community do?
Yeah, it was good. I wish I could have been there for all of it. I was coaching in a tournament out of state, but it was really good. The card lived up to the hype for the most part.
Had a nice little upset there on the main card.
Yeah, seems like that too, and seems like we also had a very successful night in the Patreon chat. From what I saw from people, most people were profitable. Going through the fights, Trevin Jones got a finish off the rip. I said he was live, though I did buy into the hype of Batista, so I'll take that one. I feel like that was one. I guess it didn't live up to, my standard of how much I wish we took Trevin Jones. That's my fault.
He didn't make the optimal for what it's worth.
Really? Okay,
yeah.
That makes me feel a little better. I said Medic was an awesome GPP target.
Yes, you
He made
did.
my love list. Did he make the optimal?
Of course he did, yeah. And we actually got a lot of people on Twitter that were adding us during that fight, and they're like, "Hey, really nice pick." So that was awesome. That was a good take for you. Yep, 121 points is what he scored.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember he was really low ownership. So yeah, you got the first round finish. Hard not to do well with the first round finish. I also green lighted the next women's fight, Matt, for Lemos, and she got the first round finish.
She did, and she sure did. She's a high score on the card. So
really, let's go. Yeah, no, I know she was carrying some low ownership. I green lighted that fight. I'll tell you, Matt, that was one of those fights. It was a style matchup, and that's why we did it. We knew she had an advantage on her feet. We knew her opponent had an advantage on the ground, and we like that. We like those styles make fights. So Brady, I said, was live, but didn't love his pricing. I think it was 9,400, 93, 9,400, something like that.
Yep. 9,300. He barely made the optimal for what it's worth.
He did make the optimal.
Yeah. We did greenlight it. Just FYI.
We did. No, we did.
Yeah.
He didn't make my love list because of the pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Did greenlight it.
He did look good on our sheet though. So just saying. Yeah.
Good leverage. I am shocked that with a third round finish he made the optimal.
Yeah, I think it's because everybody else scored like poop. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
That's funny. What was his score?
His score was 103. So just enough. No.
Interesting. But yeah, anyway, Kennedy was one of my other I had 2 punt options on the card. Kennedy was one, and he got the finish, so that was huge leverage for us. How did he score, Kennedy?
Hold on, I'm trying to find his name. Why is his name not here? Did Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
Why can't I find him?
He was 7,200, maybe.
Okay, I was looking last name. I'm sorry. 113. Yeah, 113. He made the optimal.
You can try saying that last name. I don't know. So yeah, I used one of my 2 punt options, and he got the finish. That was huge leverage for us. I told you I didn't buy his opponent was a 3-0, and I was like, that's cute. Like, yeah. I mean, I had some of his opponent too, but
so
not trust him.
I want to jump in real quick. I keep saying all these guys made the optimal. Kevin, we had 3 5-round guys, or 3 5-round matches, right, on the entire card, and only one of them made the optimal on this slate.
And who said that? I can't remember.
Was it
I?
Is that what you said? Yeah.
Yeah. So I said there's one fight I expect to make the optimal, and that was Jan and Sterling. I don't even know if that's one you're talking about because the DQ. I don't know how they scored.
He actually didn't. He didn't make it. It was the main card that made the optimal. It was Jan. Yep.
Jan was my other punt option.
Yeah.
Him and Kennedy. So both my punts made the.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
I think, but I'll tell you this: Aljamain or Jan would have made the optimal by a country mile.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They were
Absolutely.
you look at their scoring already. What did they score? Just off.
Jan scored 90.36.
90 points when they were in the fourth round. That's what I mean. That is ridiculous. When I was looking at the stat line, and I was like, yeah, if he won, which he probably would have. I mean,
I don't know. Sterling's the GOAT. Sterling got 99.35 points, scored 9 points higher with the win. But
yeah, so that's crazy. So obviously, if that went two more rounds like it should have, or a round and a half, whatever it was,
at all, all he had to do was win right there on the spot, and it would have been made the optimal. So
yeah. That was, I mean, yeah, just looking at their stat lines, it was crazy.
We just jumped really far ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind if we like talking about. Like I said, I was very happy with success. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you when I do a crappy job. I'll tell you when I did a good job. I think we did a really good job on this card.
Yeah, targeting those early fights was the way to go, and we did say, hey, there's a lot of fights here that are getting overlooked. Fight 12, 13, 14 made the optimal. No, 11, 12, 13, and 14 made the optimal. That is insane. That is insane. And then going all the way to the main card, Jan obviously made the optimal just with this pricing at $7,000, 115 points. But wow, talk about a crazy card, and talk about leverage opportunity. $49,600 were used here for this optimal. Guarantee you, if you're maxing out and you decide to get very contrarian, you did very, very well on this card.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think just going through the rest of them real quick. I mean, I think Elliott and Espinosa went to a decision as expected. Askarov went to a decision as expected. Kind of expected these to be lower octane fights. I even said that I thought as the underdog that Dominic Cruz was going to win, and he did. And I also said I'd fade him because of the volume. Though he might have. Did Dominic Cruz make the optimal?
Cruz did not. Nope.
Okay, so I actually put a decent whipping on him. But
by the way, I was watching his interview. I did not expect his voice to sound the way it did. It was just, yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard him, but like it was just like the highest pitched, weirdest voice I've ever heard.
I love Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, he's a beast. I absolutely love him because he came out after that and was like, yeah, we're gonna fight for charity going forward. It sounds like he's a great guy, but I just did not expect his voice to sound like that.
Oh yeah, he's not a great guy. He's a dick. But I love him. I was actually at one of his fights in Boston versus Dillashaw. I was at that event. It was fun. But yeah, no, he's not a nice guy. You should go watch his interview. He's sharp though. He's a good
No, he's very good. Like
but next was Kai Kara-France and Rogerio. Styles make fights. That's what I said. I said Kai Kara-France get the knockout.
I just want to jump in one more time here. You were like in the middle of a breakdown last time. You're like, hey, dude, some idiot like France could go out and make the optimal, and he sure did.
Yeah, and he did. Exactly.
He did.
Yeah. It's just, and this is how I talked about him on his feet. I mean, I gave him a green light. I think made the love list too. It's then he goes ahead and gets
106 points at a 8.5K price tag was enough to do it. So
yeah, to be honest, man, I'm just looking down the line here. I mean, the only thing that really surprised me, I mean, if you look at the pay up options, just get off track here a little bit, but my boy Islam, I told you, is my favorite fighter on the card, if not Dominic Cruz, and he looked phenomenal. And I told you not to pick him because I didn't think he'd make the optimal at that price. And it's just very tough at that price. Amanda Nunes, I said, is the safest money in MMA. And I didn't even talk about Megan Anderson. She looked starry-eyed, bro. She looked like she went out there. She looked like she was fighting her freaking father or something. She was just like, her eyes were wide. I was like, you could tell body language says a lot. I was like, oh, she's done.
Yeah.
She just did not look.
Wasn't aggressive whatsoever. It was just on the back of her heels.
Pity submitted her instead of knocking her head in the next century.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was just she didn't have a killer attitude in there. She just kind of seceded, I think, right away.
Yeah.
But Amanda Nunes looked great, safest money in MMA, as I always say. Probably didn't hit her price point. That's why I didn't want a ton of her at 9,600. She needed to go 5 rounds to hit that price point, actually. But it is what it is. What'd she score?
So she scored 98.66, and again, I just want to talk back about our DFS strategies that we always talk about on Patreon. 56.2% ownership. Okay, let's put this in perspective. If you faded Nunes, which at the beginning you would have sounded like a complete moron, but guess what? You just beat out 56.2% of the public by simply just fading her in max GPPs. Was she a sharp fade? Our Patreon sheet said absolutely. Do common sense agree with that? No, I think if me and you were sitting there before that, I'm pretty sure we did in the breakdown, and we say, hey, 100% fade of Nunes, you're an idiot. Well, guess what? You're not an idiot. You just beat out 56.2% of the public. So just saying.
We definitely didn't say 100% because, again, it goes 5.
Right.
Absolutely can make the option. We did say also, like, do fade her a bit.
Yeah.
Because 96 is just, it's tough, man. You really, like I said, I didn't like, if you want her to score well, you don't want her knocking people out. You need her to drag it into deep waters and just keep working that new scoring system.
Absolutely.
Just volume. And that was just not the case. Just put her down too fast.
And 56.2% ownership is so high on the, what was it, 14 fights, 15 fight slate, 14 fight slate. Crazy. Made no sense.
That's true. And then the last fight here was is the only one I felt like we missed a little bit, and it was just I can't say it's our fault. I can't say it was Rakic and Santos, and it reminded me of Gane and Rosenstruck. It reminded me of Francis versus Derek Lewis, where
they just looked at each other.
What'd you say?
They just looked at each other. I watched.
Yeah, you got these two big dudes who just throw absolute bombs, and they're just scared to engage. And I get it. No one wants to be highlight reeled and starched, but at the same time, it's like it makes for a very, very boring fight. It makes for a lackluster fight where, if these guys engaged for a minute total time, 30 seconds, someone's probably going to sleep. But they just didn't even give a chance.
Yeah.
Santos pressed it a little bit. Rakic danced, and he admits it, but he just wanted to get in and out of there. But,
and he scored 51 points in the win. That's crazy.
Yeah, terrible. Just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, for a guy that can, hit as hard as he does, and for how hard Santos hits, just, I don't know.
But if they redid that fight, guarantee it wouldn't end the same way. So we'd go right back to the well there with the finish percentage. But
yeah, I'll tell you that if they implemented a stalling rule where you lose points for stalling, like wrestling,
yeah,
fight would have ended in the first round.
Right.
Right. Would have been a wrap. But yeah, let's move to this next card. We got UFC Fight Night, Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. First fight on the card, Matt, we got Matthew Semelsberger versus Jason Witt. First fight is an intriguing one. Semelsberger looked good in his UFC debut. He has a solid pace to him, and I think he could easily make the optimal without a finish. I was pretty impressed watching him. Jason Witt looked impressive in his last fight as well, and is a good grappler who could offer some real problems for Semelsberger. I think the fight is a great contrast of styles here, which is fights we like to target, as we just talked about. The two fights that exemplified this last week were Lemos and Kai Kara France, Matt, where we had leverage over the field, and that was a lot due to the contrast of styles. And I think this one is double green off the rip just due to the contrast of styles.
Then you like to hear the ownership both below the benchmark. I usually take the top 6 highest fighters and then give a benchmark percentage. Anything below that is going to be GPP worthy for anybody new watching. The ownership benchmark is at 35.8% ownership. So that means that both of these guys, Semelsberger at 30.8% is going to be GPP worthy, and also Witt at 23.9%. So relatively low on both guys.
Okay, I like that. I mean, like I said, I think that's there's potential off the rip. I mean, you might know right off the rip how your night's going if you do, one line.
And we just saw 4 early fights make the optimal on a 15 fight card, which is crazy. Just saying.
Yeah, there's this weird aura about like people not targeting fights.
I don't know why.
Because they night to be over early, but they think for some reason the fights closer to the top will be higher scoring.
Yeah.
Which sometimes it's the opposite. You have two talented guys or girls in the closer to the main. They want to move up the rankings. They want to play it cerebral, want to be smart, where these guys on the lower end are trying to make a name. To get yourself in a position where you can move up the rankings, you need to be someone not who just wins, but someone, I mean, look at Bilal Muhammad. Perfect example. He's fighting his first title fight right now. That dude is boring as watching paint. And how many wins has he had without reaching a title shot? If he was more entertaining, if you're a fighter who, look at Hamzat, like you get a couple cool wins and become a fan favorite, they're going to shoot you to the top.
Right.
So that's what lower card people, like, like a Semelsberger or Jason Witt, or they're going to try to do that. They need to make a name for themselves, and they're not going to do it by squeaking out, small decisions. So
we should play a game. We should play a game going forward where it's going to be hard for you to do, because you look at this stuff 24/7. We just don't look at the fight numbers, and then give us and then you give the overall favorite fights on the slate based on the upside, and just see where that sits. I mean, we do that basically anyway, but just don't look at the fight number whatsoever. Just put a big sheet over the fight numbers and just guess it that way, because it's giving us some bias. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
fun. But yeah, I do like this one off the rip. I do. So double green.
All right, double greening it.
Moving on, we got Gloria de Paula versus Jinyu Frey. There's 3 women's fights on the slate, Matt, and they're all pretty horrible. I don't really
I see that.
It's not like Lemos versus it's not one of the combos I like from like last week, or I've been liking a lot more women's fights. Usually they make the optimal. I don't like this one. I'll probably red light it and hope it doesn't hit. Actually, scratch that. I'm going to go Gloria yellow because Jinyu Frey is wildly unimpressive and she can get finished. And Gloria does have a little bit of power, so I will say Gloria's yellow. I don't like Jinyu Frey. She's not very good.
Okay.
So I'm just going to fade her.
Okay. Got it. Well, the ownership completely agrees with you. Paula at 22.5% ownership, and then Frey at 7.9%. That's the second lowest overall ownership on the card, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I can live with that. I mean, I get there's leverage there if she somehow pulls off the upset, but she still needs a finish to do so.
Right.
There's a plus 240 finish chance, so
yeah, I get it.
Not expecting it. So yeah, not too much to talk about that one.
Yep.
That's moving on to we have what's the next one? Another girls fight. Oh my goodness gracious! You want to hear something crazy?
Okay, maybe we won't have too many early fights make the optimal. Let me take that back.
When you said that, I was like, because last one was so good. I was like, it's like such is life.
I take it back, boys. Take it back.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about how many we're fading right now. This is crazy. How many fights have I covered, Matt? How many fights have we done together?
Honestly, probably about
I want to say
close to 300 plus.
No, it's way more than that. Because if you think about it, it's so if you think about it, each card has, let's say, an average of 10 fights. Okay.
More
and
than
I can
that,
tell you. Well, now it is. Yeah. I mean, I guess. No, you're right. You're right. It is every. You're
probably
right.
About
let's
12,
say 12.
13. Yeah.
Let's say 12, 13. I'm still thinking of like pre-COVID. So let's say 12.
Okay.
And
I got to calculate.
I was looking at my files the other day. We have done well over 100 UFC events together. So
have we?
I know. Unfortunately, we've been. Yep.
And I still don't know anything about UFC. This is crazy. All right.
Yeah. Well, this might be counting my write-ups too. Before we did the videos,
okay.
Remember I was doing write-ups for about a year before the videos, just for our paid users. But either way, we've done a crap ton of fights. This fight right here has the worst finish chance out of any fight I've ever covered.
Okay.
Isn't that insane?
That is crazy.
Worst finish chance is at 310 plus 310. Yeah. To be honest, I don't even think this fight has that bad of a chance to end in a finish, and I really don't get it. To be honest, Casey's the underdog. I get that, but she's got a 75% finish rate in that, which is pretty damn good for women's fighters. 75% finish rate. Now I get Aldrich as the favorite. She is a terrible finisher, so I mean, I get it, but at plus 310 is like if she was fighting Keelan Chukagian or something. It's just two people who can't finish. But I mean, this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't know. This is interesting. JJ she was miserable in a couple of her last fights. I mean, she wins. She's like the female version of Bilal Muhammad, like who we're going to talk about later. She doesn't have a really good pace to her. It's kind of like how does she keep winning? But I'm going to red light her and I'm going to put Casey as yellow, even at plus 310, just because Casey is a good finisher. And I don't think I think she should win, but I don't think it's in the realm of, non-possibility that Courtney could get this win.
Vegas is giving them a 24% chance to finish overall. So very interesting. Aldrich at 15.8% and Casey at 15.1%. So it looks like it's dead split. It looks like some people are going to be playing Casey here, and I think that you can agree with that. I think it makes more sense to play Casey at $7,700, and then she still has to get the finish to really make the optimal. So
yeah, it's one thing if Aldrich has like at 8,500, she could be super live if she carries a good pace to her, but she doesn't. So,
right.
I mean, what's the upside here?
Yeah, I'm almost falling asleep. Let's move along.
All right. Moving on, we got Nasrat Haqparast versus Rafa Garcia. This is an interesting one, Matt. Nasrat just got an opponent change. Now he's taking on Rafa Garcia. Rafa's a local legend in Mexico and, sports an undefeated 12-0 record. He's a very talented finisher as well, though it is hard to tell how good he actually is without fighting any really high-level organizations. He always fights in that Mexican organization. I can't remember what it's like, Combatis, something international. I can't remember what it is, but it's someone where a lot of Mexican MMA fighters come through. But I think as an undefeated fighter, he is live. Good finisher. He's also live. And we also watched Nasrat get starched by Drew Dober, who I think Drew Dober's okay. But we just watched Drew Dober fight Islam, and he got absolutely destroyed. I think Drew Dober was just middle of the road. So that being said, I think, he has a chance. But Nasrat is a good fighter, and he should win this. He's a very talented overall fighter. We saw some awesome takedown defense in his last fight against Munoz, which is exactly what you want for him. You want to keep Nasrat standing because I don't know if you've seen him fight, Matt, but his hands are rated E for everyone. He just throws hard, and he just throws a lot of volume. His price tag is concerning, though, at $9,400. I know we don't have the ownership, right? Still
We
no ownership on
don't.
this?
Yeah, good guess. Yeah, it got reset to 0. So we did at 1 point, but since the opponent changed, no, it has chance to reset here. By the way, guys, if you guys want the updated ownership on Patreon, we'll be posting all the updated ownership in the morning. So one final update will be provided. So all this is subject to change.
Yeah, I was going to say that is definitely what we're going to be waiting on.
Yeah.
What else can we do? There's not really too much else to talk about here. I mean, as a whole, I like it. You can mark it double green, just because I think there's potential. But
right.
That being said, we need more information.
Got it. All right.
Moving on, we got Yahya versus Frey Rodriguez. I love this fight. This will be the first one to make my love list. Rodriguez is a glass cannon and can finish anyone, but he does get finished himself quite a fair bit. Yahya is a vet and a very good fighter. I've always liked Yahya. He has so much ability in his grappling and really hunts the submission and the finish for the entire fight. He was an ADCC champion, Matt. I don't know if you know what that is, but that's the Super Bowl for grapplers, essentially. And he's a problem on the ground for anyone. And I think, Frey Rodriguez, this is one of those ones. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I think Frey Rodriguez probably ends up on the ground at some point, and I probably doesn't get back up. Like, I think that's it. But I will have Ray in my pool. I think Rodriguez absolutely has enough in his arsenal to make it a dangerous fight for Yahya. And I don't think he's out of this fight by any means. But I think this fight probably will end in a finish. I would be very shocked if it didn't.
All right, they're giving Rodriguez a 25% chance to win this thing, but Rodriguez is only carrying 6.2% ownership, which is the lowest on the card, Kevin. So here's the leverage potential right here. So I absolutely love that. Yahya is also showing very high ownership, which is I think it's expected. 35.8, he is the benchmark, but I think this is a very targetable fight on both sides. 6.2% ownership on a 25% chance to win seems like a lot of leverage potential to me.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that because I really do. I mean, he's making my love list for a reason, and I do like him. I just, I also really do just like Yahya.
Yeah.
I think he's very.
Well, do you know what that means? Have 100% exposure to him in cash, Yahya, and have 100% exposure to Rodriguez in GPPs. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm kidding.
Can't get on board with that yet. Just because, I think Ronnie could very easily make the optimal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, you're right. It definitely want some Ray Rodriguez in GPP.
Yeah.
That's a lot of leverage. Moving on to a similar fight, Matt. We got Jourdain versus Marcelo Rojo. And it's another great fight to target here. Very similar. Jourdain's a great finisher with all of his 10 wins coming by way of knockout or submission as a favorite. I think he can score very well with a win. But to be honest, I don't have as much faith in him or his talent level as I do with someone like Yahya. I think he's a little bit more beatable, and Marcelo Rojo may be an excellent punt option for that reason. Rojo is a damn good finisher himself with 14 of 16 wins coming by way of finish, which is really weird when you look at the finish chance of this being minus 155. Mm-hmm. It doesn't quite add up. This should end in a finish. It really should.
Okay.
Not that it's not expected to at minus 155, but I mean, we're talking about a guy who has 10 wins, 10 finishes, and the other 14 of his 16 by finish. So I think this ends in a finish. So I really don't get that. But you might be able to mesh these two fights well. I was thinking the Jourdain fight and then the Yahya fight. You got two guys basically the same price, two punts basically the same price. You can match these well. I like to do that technique a lot. You could take Jourdain and Yahya, start heavy, and then filter in everybody else in your lineups. You could start Jourdain and Rodriguez, and then go off there. You're still going to be saving a little bit of salary because you took someone at 7K, even though you have a 9,100. You could take Yahya and Rojo, which is the more expensive version of that, but still, it's in my opinion, probably the best combo because I do think Rojo is a better punt, and I think Yahya is a better favorite. But it's interesting. I think both these fights that we just talked about make my love list, and I think you could pair them pretty well together.
And this fight
you could go double punt too, Matt. You go Rojo and Rodriguez.
Yeah, get very contrarian there, and then stack the heavy favorites. So, in terms of leverage, this is carrying lower ownership than the last one. So Jourdain at 29.7%. So GPP written all over the wall there, $9,100. Then Rojo at 10.8% ownership. So fairly low combined ownership on this fight.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Moving on, we got Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder. This was on the card, Matt.
I was about to say, didn't we just cover this one?
Yeah, I think Hill popped out for COVID. Someone did.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to give you a recap of my synopsis. I don't think
copy and paste it.
It's basically the same thing. Yeah, copy and paste, seriously. I don't think Yoder is necessarily a good fighter. Hill being pretty subpar makes me worried about the 9,200 price tag. I think this is a fight you want to fade for the most part, Matt. I hope it doesn't make the optimal. I was a little more happy on fading this with the last card, but I'm talking like marginally. Like I'm still okay with fading it. I guess Angela would be the one you need to worry about if she somehow puts a clinic on her, but at 9,400, it's still a reach. And
there's a lot of good options in that 9K range too.
Yeah, let's go Yoder yellow, just because I think she could catch her in a sub. And Angela Hill is like, what's her record? 9-8 or something. She's like not that good, bro. Like I don't understand.
It's just 7-9 for me. If that's
like,
true. That's trash. Yeah.
Angela Hill is.
Yeah, you're right.
12-9. Yeah. She's just not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she lost some good fighters. I remember in the last fight against Waterson, and then the Claudia Gadelha one. I actually thought she looked pretty good because I have a high opinion of Claudia Gadelha. But yeah, I was just not impressed by her. I think she's super beatable. Super beatable.
Okay, low ownership all the way around. I'm going to yellow light Yoder and red light Hill just based on the other options that we're looking at.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of interest in this fight.
Yeah, almost fell asleep
I will
again.
say this fight did happen. What was it? A couple years ago, and I think Hill won. That like this is a rematch, but I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I just not put a lot of stock in. Then that's probably why Hill's carrying such a high favoritism too. Obviously, if you beat someone once, they expect you can do it again. Right. Probably true. Doesn't mean she's going to score well.
Got it.
So, anyway, moving on, we have Eric Anders versus Darren Stewart. This fight is a tough one. I could see it going a couple different ways. Anders is already claiming that this upcoming bout will be fight of the night. Keeps saying, him and Stewart are going to trade leather until someone falls down. And I'm like, you look at both these guys and the stat lines and productions they put, like the amount of significant strikes they throw and land. It's like, okay, relax, bud. Like, you guys aren't that kind of fighters. Like
trying to hype himself up. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're both somewhat middle of the road fighters. They do have some power in their hands. They hit hard, but they just, I don't know. They're not super talented guys. I could see a knockout happening here. So I'll mark both yellow. I do think Darren Stewart's a little more polished, so I understand him being a somewhat heavy favorite. That being said, I could also see this fight being a low-scoring affair, so don't overexpose here. Anything could happen. It's, Eric Anders, he's a good athlete. Could come out, knock him out. Darren Stewart could knock him out. He's got a couple different ways to finish. We saw it with Maki Pitolo. He got the submission as well. I don't know. It's a weird fight, Matt. It's one of those ones like I just kind of don't know what to do with.
All right. That being said, the ownership completely agrees with you. Low, very low on both of these guys. 18.5%, 18.1%. So I see some leverage potential, but again, yellow, so limit your exposure.
Yeah, that would be one like you definitely want to take some exposure to because you don't know what's going to happen. But
right.
At the same time, because you don't want to be caught on the wrong side of that. But yeah, don't overexpose and expect a lot.
All right, top five. Here we go.
We got Kape versus Matthias Nicolau. This one's tough. I'm gonna give Kape a little bit of a pass last fight and throw him in the love list one more time and see how he does. He didn't look like the killer he is in the last fight, but that was against Alexander Pantoja, who I have a pretty high opinion of myself. And I don't know. I think he can bounce back in a quick turnaround fight here against Nicolau. He's a great finisher and very powerful dude at the weight. I think Nicolau is a great pivot and will make my love list as well. He's making his UFC debut, but has fought some very high-level competition outside of the organization. He has wins over big names like Louis Smolka, John Moraga, and he was also on the Ultimate Fighter show. I think he's live, and this fight will make my love list, Matt. I think there's a path to victory for both guys here. Good finishers for the weight class.
Nicolau, 24.4%, so GPP range. And is it Kape or Kape?
Yeah, I said Kape last time, and then Kape one there.
Got it. All right, 15.5%. So relatively low on both these guys.
Yeah, they're both still pretty green, new to the business, but good finishers. So and there's volatility there and good pricing.
And great leverage potential there in the fifth fight.
Yeah, streams GPP.
Got it.
Moving on, we got Jonathan Martinez versus Davey Grant. This is a fight where I am not 100% sold on that line of -310 for Jonathan Martinez. I think this should be like this crazy, Matt, for -310. What is that percentage-wise for a win percentage?
Percentage-wise is a 76% chance.
I guess that's not as bad as I think, but I don't know. I still have this at like closer to like a 60-65, which is crazy. But I think nothing more. I mean, Martinez has had success in the UFC, but he's had some holes in his game as well. Davey Grant has had some real submission ability and is coming off a huge upset knockout win over Martin Day, if you recall. I think both are green here. I'd love to hear the ownership because this one has me interested.
Very low.
I do like Martinez. I think he has power in his hands, but I just don't see the line being this lopsided. I really don't.
Not jumping too far ahead, but it looks like the casuals are playing MMA still, Kevin. Looks like the top 3 fights are dominating in ownership, and I'm sure you'll agree somewhat with that, but there's no ownership on this Martinez Grant fight. 28.2% of Martinez and Grant at 11.1. Literally only one fight and one fighter, Yahya at 35.8 is the only cash viable person that we've had thus far.
That's crazy.
And we have 3 fights left, so.
Yeah, that tells you they're loading up. I get it though. I do get it on this card, but I still think that's insane.
Yeah. We also thought that about last card. Again, just saying.
Yep, this is true. So I think maybe Jonathan Martinez. What do we do with you? I don't know. Let that sit and stew for a minute. And I'm trying to think. I think Davey Grant has that potential to pull an upset here. I mean, 6,900 is crazy low. But
based on what you said and based on the ownership that I'm looking at, I say you go all in on some. I see you be very aggressive on this fight, honestly.
I like that. Okay, cool. Moving on, we got Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. This fight should be a banger. I love both these guys, man. I have a high opinion of both these guys. I think Dan Ige is a very good fighter. I think Gavin Tucker's a very good fighter. I was very impressed with Tucker in his last couple fights that we saw. Ige, not as much. Cater beat the crap out of him pretty soundly. And we all saw what Holloway did to Cater after. So just shows there's levels to this map. There really is levels. But I don't know. I don't think this fight ends in a finish. I'm almost surprised that Tucker isn't a little more closer to an even line here. I mean, to be honest, I guess the pricing isn't matching up to the Vegas line here, Matt.
Yeah.
Dan Ige at -135 and Tucker at +105. That's closer to like, not quite. That's like 8,300, 7,900 territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess Vegas agrees with me. I guess it's just DraftKings that doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think both are green. I think this fight could be very high octane. If you target this fight, you probably want Tucker to win more. He's cheaper and he throws a little more volume, traditionally a better score. So I definitely think Tucker's green. And I do think Ige's green too. Just don't love him quite as much, being a little more expensive and a little less high octane of a guy. But yeah, I think this fight's green, Matt. I do. Even though it's a +180 finish chance, it's not one of those fights that you may not need a finish chance to hit optimal with this one.
Very, very odd fight, and I'm about to throw a curveball question at you, Kevin, because the ownership is absolutely insane. This looks to be a make or break fight, just based on ownership, because Ige is carrying 49.6% ownership, and Tucker is carrying 41.6%, which are the 2 highest, at least this far here in the live video. That being said, I've never seen a fight number 3 be stackable or have stackable ownership percentage. That being said, you already know the question I'm about to ask you. Is this fight stackable?
I'm sorry.
In cash. What? Is this fight stackable in cash? Based on the ownership, it says yes. I know I just broke your brain. And you have COVID, so I'm literally trying to kill you right now. So
I think it was the one that just pushed me over the edge. This fight has over 80% ownership already.
It has over 90% ownership.
Was it 80? I thought it was 40 and 40. Was it 40 higher than that? 46, 45?
It is 49.6 on Ige, and on Tucker it's 41.6. So yes, over 90%.
Yeah, that did it. That is my brain out the window.
We've never seen this before, which is why I'm asking that question.
I like the fight. I just don't understand. I don't understand why so many people are that high in this fight. It's still a 3-rounder. Yeah. It's a 3-rounder, not expected to end in a finish.
Now,
I was being contrarian, saying that there's still a decent chance this makes optimal without a finish.
You're right.
People are like, that's cute, hold my ownership, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to.
And here's another perspective. If the ownership is this high, I consider this a very sharp, fadeable fight, and I think, based on what you're saying, you agree with that.
Yeah. I mean,
so there's a lot of perspectives. This number 3 fight is extremely interesting.
Yeah. That pisses me off. That was supposed to be a little bit.
Now, all right, you don't have to answer that question. We'll actually save that for the Patreon chat and the updated ownership. This is all subject to change. Keep in mind, because we still have a fight here, a very interesting fight that doesn't have ownership. So I just want you guys.
I'll leave that need to process. I need 24 hours to process.
Yeah, it was more of a question for all of our viewers to kind of sit on. If the ownership is this high, I think this might be stackable if it actually is that high, but we don't know if it's actually going to be that high.
Literally could be a fight that.
And I think the price tags make it easy for it to stack. So
that fight should be the highest paced, like back and forth, like two technical guys that doesn't end in a finish, which you don't want to finish if you're stacking it. You want a drawn out 3-rounder.
Yeah.
And these guys throwing leather. That fight is it. They're good dance partners for each other, but still just processing.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to break your brain again. Let's move on to the second one.
Oh, I can't handle anymore. We got Misha versus Ryan Spann. This fight is probably the best one to target on paper, Matt. You can't break my brain on this one.
Okay.
I
can still break it, but go ahead.
Unless you're like 7% and 9%, then I'm gonna be like, okay, it's broken. It's broken. What's the ownership here?
Hold on. Talk about the fight first, because I'm gonna try something here.
The pricing is amazing. It's backed by an absurd -425 finish chance. Spann is a beast, big power, bigger submission ability. Misha's the same thing, big power, bigger submission ability. Both these guys have histories of being finished themselves.
Yep.
So I'm confident. Starting to make sense.
I just broke something. I just broke DraftKings, and I just broke the slate in terms of cash. Go ahead.
Scared. I'm confident this one lives up to the hype too, Matt. I think this ends in a knockout or submission. I will target this one near 100%. And as to who wins, I like that Misha's losses have all been to really quality opponents. But that being said, Ryan has won 8 of his last 9. So I really do think it's a 50-50 toss-up here. So F me up, fam.
All right. So on this card, all right, let me just ask you this question now. Again, more of a rhetorical question because I know you know the answer. How many fights do you need to win usually to just min cash and double ups?
So typically my mark is 4.
Yep, about 4. Yep.
Done it with 3.
Okay.
I've with 4. So
all right,
depends.
I'm bringing in a DFS perspective here. You can stack. And I've just did it on my screen for anybody watching. I'm not saying this is a cash lineup yet because ownership is subject to change, but you can stack fights 3 and 2 completely. Again, knowing that you only have a max of 4 winners and still have the other 2 fighters left in your lineup be pretty decent favorites. So, because of ownership, I think that you can get away with stacking fights 3 and 2 because they're so darn high. I haven't even given you an ownership. Misha, 45.4%, which again is insanely high. Spann, 37.7%. Again, incredibly high. The last 4 fighters that we've talked about are so freaking high in ownership. It doesn't make any. Well, it does make sense. But you can now stack those last 2 fights and it actually makes sense. 4 out of the 6 winners, min cash and double ups. If there's an upset on either one of these fights, you'll easily cash, assuming the other 2 favorites win. So
that's what is Ryan's again?
Ryan's is 37.7, which is actually the lowest. But again, and when you compare it to the other fighters we've already talked about, the 5th highest on the slate.
I mean, that makes sense. So this one at least makes sense. This one should end in a finish. Pricing is even better than the Ige Tucker fight.
But I just want to bring it back one more time. Stacking those 2 last fights is doable, which explains the ownership. Just saying. So I think it's just because of the price tags here. That's all.
No, I'm kind of scared about the main event here.
Yeah. The main event is the ownership's low on Muhammad, so that's what did it. That's what pushed up the ownership on these last 2 fights.
Yeah, that broke my brain almost as much as
very weird.
Signing Cam Newton today broke my brain.
What do you mean? That's the best quarterback in the. All right, let's go. Back on the track. MMA.
I should have put that money towards a Deshaun Watson contract. Anyway,
that's true.
Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Can't talk today.
You're good.
If you guys recall, I talked about Bilal. Do you remember Bilal a couple weeks ago, Matt? He fought. And I said he's one of those guys, like, I don't understand how he keeps winning.
Yep.
Horrendous pace. He's a good winner. Got to give credit where it's due. Good winner. But terrible finish ability, terrible pace. And I think that makes him, he's scary in most fights, but at $7,200 in a 5-rounder, you got to consider him live. You know what I mean? You got to.
Interesting.
Because he's a good fighter. He's still a good fighter. He's a good winner. And if you're winning a 5-round fight, you got to do enough to clear 7,200. He would have to go, even for him, would have to go so far out of his way. Now, he could get consumed by other fights just scoring so much better very possible. But if we're talking about him clearing his price point and not comparing him to the field and anybody else, absolutely should be able to do it. But that being said, I think Leon Edwards at 9K is a little bit smarter of a target. I think he should win. I was very impressed with Leon's last fight against RDA. It was a bit ago. It was a little, lapse between his last fight. But I think he looked lights out. I remember watching him being like, oh, he's a contender. He looked really good. It's tough. Both guys have really good records, Matt. Really good records. They're both pretty successful fighters. I do think Leon is doing more at a higher level right now.
Okay.
So I do think Leon should win. Hence why he's a pretty heavy favorite. I still am actually surprised at this line. I think it should be like, I don't know, minus 150 for Leon Edwards. They're like minus 275. I'm like, okay, I think he's going to win, but I don't think it's like that. But he is, Leon has lost once in 5 years, Matt, and that was to Kamaru Usman. So
yeah. All right.
It's nothing.
Again, you already heard the ownership in the last two, so that means that this fight really isn't going to be as high owned as you'd expect. Leon Edwards is still the highest owned at 53.2%, and I think you can agree with that. But Muhammad, 26.4% ownership. We've never seen a main event ownership that low. I mean, we have, but just like relative to the field here, 26.4% is just very, very low. And it sounds like a contrarian take, and I think you pretty much just said that. You have to have some exposure to Muhammad because he's still alive in the 5-round fight. $7,200 could easily make the optimal if he does win, and if things go unexpectedly, could easily make the optimal there. This card's weird. We have a contrarian play here in the main event, and then we have stackable 2 and 3 according to ownership here. Stackable 2 and 3 fights, and then all the other ownership fights 13 through 3 are so low. A lot of different stances here, a lot of different directions you could go, and it's driven up by the casuals. So. Love to hear that. I think this is a GPP slate because of it. Very interesting slate, Kevin. So I want to hear your overall take, and we're going to bring it all together. Starting with the core fights here. What are we targeting?
I think for a core fight, I think we go after Leon. Besides that, I feel like you got to add Ige.
Yeah.
And I wasn't planning this, but Ige and Tucker as a stack or either or, I guess. I don't know. That's weird, man.
So we have to see what the ownership's looking like in the morning, but this is very crazy with these ownerships.
Yeah, very odd. But GPP plays, I feel better about like taking Ronnie Yahya. Talked about great submission ability, finishing Rodriguez, not too difficult to do. Jourdain, awesome finisher, though I think GPP is appropriate for him as he could still lose and he's volatile. Kape and Nicolau, solid pricing, 2 good finishers, good pivots off each other as well. Misha and Spann, I know huge finish chance for both guys, and the pricing's perfect there. I know they're carrying a lot of ownership, Matt, but that doesn't deter me.
Right.
And punts, Rodriguez, great finish ability as a punt, and then Rojo, great finish ability, and I'm not sold on the talent level of Jourdain yet.
Yeah, all right. That covers the entire slate. We've given many stances here. I think you can go a lot of different directions. I think you can agree with me too, Kevin. And we've seen some crazy things happen. I think you'll see a lot of crazy things happen on this slate. There's some smart fades. There's some smart plays. You can go all over the place. But guys, thanks for watching this video. We will update the ownerships in the morning. If you haven't signed up for Patreon, you will. Hopefully this convinces you to sign up for Patreon. $20 a month gets you all of our access to all these MMA sheets. Every single sport going on right now with NBA, MLB starting up soon. And that will wrap up the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.